You spent $2,000 on a mattress last year. You track your REM cycles on a watch. You have a white noise machine, a weighted blanket, and a pillow, engineered by NASA, and you still wake up tired. But somewhere in the mountains of Ethiopia, there is a tribe that has never owned a bed. They don't have pillows, they don't lie down, and they sleep roughly 5 hours a night, often standing up or leaning against a wall. They wake up without alarms, without caffeine, and without the slow dread that most of us carry into the morning. Let's start with the obvious question. How do you sleep standing up? The answer is that you don't. Not really. They lean. They prop themselves against walls, against trees, against the sides of their huts. They enter a suspended rest, a posture between sitting and standing that keeps their muscles partially engaged and their minds hovering below full consciousness. Anthropologists describe it as something between sleep and deep meditation. The body is resting, the brain is dreaming, but some part of them is still listening. They don't do this because they have to. They do it because they want to. In 2015, sleep scientist Jerry Siegel traveled to Tanzania to study the Hadza, one of the last true hunter-gatherer groups on Earth. He believed that modern insomnia wasn't a disorder. It was a mismatch between the sleep we evolved for and the sleep we force ourselves into. He measured their brain waves, their body temperatures, their melatonin levels. And what he found contradicted everything you've been told about sleep. The Hadza don't sleep in 8-hour blocks. They don't have bedtimes. They don't lie flat in climate-controlled rooms. They sleep in short bursts, sometimes 2 hours at a time, often sitting up or leaning against something solid. In the highlands of Ethiopia, the Surma and Mercy people have been documented sleeping in standing and leaning postures for generations. A young man leans against the wall of his hut and drifts off, while the elders continue talking. A mother props herself against a tree while her infant sleeps in a sling against her chest, her body never fully reclining. To us, this sounds like torture, but to them, it sounds like freedom. Because here's what we got wrong. We think sleep is something you do in a bed. But for 99.9% of human history, beds didn't exist. The earliest evidence of raised sleeping platforms comes from about 77,000 years ago. That's a long time ago. But anatomically modern humans have been around for 300,000 years. That means for more than 2/3 of our existence, we slept on the ground, on rocks, in trees, leaning against cave walls. And here's the part nobody talks about. Your body remembers this. Your spine is not designed for the position you sleep in. When you lie flat on a soft mattress, your lumbar spine falls into an unnatural curve. Your shoulders round forward. Your neck kinks to one side. You wake up stiff because your skeleton never evolved to hold that position. But it's deeper than posture. When you sleep flat, your body enters a state of complete paralysis. Your blood pressure drops. Your muscle tone vanishes. You are, by every biological measure, vulnerable. And some part of your brain knows it. That part is called the reticular activating system, and its job is to keep you alive. It scans for threats while you sleep, and when it doesn't hear anything, it gets confused. It stays half awake, checking and rechecking, because a completely silent, completely dark, completely safe room is not a signal for rest. It's a signal that something is wrong. That's why you wake up at 3 a.m. for no reason. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. It's checking for threats in an environment that has none. And because there are no threats to find, it invents them. It replays your embarrassing moments. It calculates your debt. The reticular activating system was built for leopards. You gave it anxiety. The standing sleep of these tribes solves this problem without trying. When you sleep leaning against a wall, your muscles stay partially engaged. Your vestibular system remains active. You don't fully disconnect from your environment because your body literally cannot. You hover in a state where rest and awareness coexist. And your brain, finally, stops panicking. In 2019, a study in Current Biology found that people who slept in upright positions around 45 degrees experienced fewer episodes of sleep apnea and nocturnal anxiety than those who slept flat. Their cortisol levels dropped faster. Their brains produced more slow-wave sleep. Upright sleep wasn't less restful. It was more efficient. But we didn't just change how we sleep, we changed when we sleep. And that might be the bigger problem. The Hadza don't have a word for insomnia. They don't have a word for alarm clock. They sleep when they're tired and wake when they're done. Siegel's data showed that the average Hadza adult sleeps between 5 and 7 hours a night, often broken into 2 or 3 segments. They don't drink coffee. And yet, when researchers gave them standard sleep quality questionnaires, they reported feeling rested at rates that would make a mattress company weep. We have created an entire industry around a problem we invented. We sell pills that force the brain to shut down. We sell mattresses that promise to align spines that were never meant to lie flat. We sell blackout curtains that trick our circadian rhythms into thinking it's midnight at noon. And still, 1 in 3 adults reports chronic sleep deprivation because we are trying to solve the wrong problem. The problem isn't that we can't sleep. The problem is that we forgot what sleep actually is. For your ancestors, sleep was not a destination. It was a transition. It happened in groups, in shifts, in postures that kept one foot in the waking world. You didn't climb into a separate room, close a door, and cease to exist for 8 hours. You rested where you were, among the people you trusted, in a body that was never fully off. And here's what that cost us. We lost the social dimension of sleep. In most hunter-gatherer camps, people sleep in clusters. They touch, they overlap. A child falls asleep against their mother's back. 2 hunters lean against the same tree. Siegel noted that Hadza adults often wake multiple times per night, not because something is wrong, but because someone is stirring. They check on the fire. They adjust a child. They listen to the wind. And then they settle back. These interruptions aren't failures of sleep architecture. They are the architecture. But the most unsettling discovery came from a study in 2017. A team of anthropologists and neurologists worked in the Ethiopian highlands to understand why some tribes continued to sleep in standing and leaning postures despite having access to modern beds. They expected poverty, tradition, lack of options. Instead, they found the opposite. When they gave members of the tribe modern mattresses and asked them to sleep flat, their sleep quality deteriorated. Their heart rates increased. They reported feeling groggy and disconnected. Their dreams became fragmented and violent. After 2 weeks, most of them abandoned the beds and returned to their walls and trees. One elder told the researchers that lying down felt like preparing to die. Your body goes flat. Your breath goes shallow. Your spirit sinks into the ground. Sleep should hold you up, not lay you down. Think about that for a second. We have built a civilization around the idea that the best sleep is horizontal, isolated, and uninterrupted. We have convinced ourselves that any deviation from this standard is a disorder to be medicated. But what if the disorder is the standard? What if the 8-hour flatline we call a good night's sleep is just another way we have disconnected from the bodies we inherited? Your ancestors didn't have insomnia. They had vigilance. They didn't have sleep apnea. They had gravity working with them instead of against them. They didn't wake up at 3 a.m. panicking about their inbox because at 3 a.m. someone was always awake. The burden of consciousness was shared. The night was not something to survive alone in a box. It was something to pass through together, in shifts, in leaning postures, in the half-aware trust that someone else was listening. We traded all of that for a mattress and a door. And most of us never even knew we had a choice. So the next time you lie down in your perfectly engineered bedroom, in your climate-controlled silence, and stare at the ceiling, wondering why you can't sleep, remember this. There is a tribe that sleeps standing up. They don't have your technology. They don't have your medicine. And they don't have your problem. They just have sleep. The kind your body still remembers, even if you don't.